Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 5 minutes, I think, is more than reasonable wait time. Let's get started, inshallah. I want that window open. Let me bring it back. Uh, if you are not hearing me properly, just let me know. I'll try to increase my volume and try to make it better, inshallah. So, last time, in yesterday's session, we were stuck at, it was quite embarrassing, but uh, we were, I was unable to make a couple of things work. Anyway, I just looked at it. I didn't get any time yesterday. I just looked at it and I could easily see what went wrong. So, mouse over is not supposed to be a camel case, it's all small. So, when I did that, things started working. So this was supposed to be on our display the text of that particular HTML element. So we can see laptop over here. I see two messages because when I was hovering bottom to top, I hovered over both the table cells. So one more, one more, one more. So that is working. But anyway, this was demonstration of a property of a event binding or binding from a template to the component class. So anyway, I'll take that off because mouse hover, we might be hovering over too many times. I'll take that out so that it doesn't bother us anymore. And the other mistake was this on change or the change event was not working. So I commented it out yesterday. I'll uncomment it and I'll comment the other line. We'll come to that in a bit. Over here, the event name is just change, not on change. So that was a little mistake over there. That was a little oversight. So anyway, let's try to change that and see in the console what gets logged. So change event happens when we are out of that element. So tab out of the element, we are logging in the event. So whatever is passed on from here. So let's utilize a property of the event called target and see what it contains. Let me type in something and then tab out. So we can see the HTML element is the target of that event. So HTML element on which this event is happening is the target. So target again has another property called value. Basically that's the value contained by that particular input element. So I target value, and just to look at that update title method, what we are consoling or writing out to console is whatever is passed in. So handle, there is a change event, we named it as update title. So update title, we are login in whatever is passed in. So now we are passing $event.target.value, and that should contain whatever is typed in over here. New title, tab out, and new title is displayed over here. Right now, right now we are just logging it in the console. Let's update the title over here as well as after logging to the console, or maybe we can just remove it to the console. If we need any troubleshooting, then we'll log it to the console and see how it goes. So title equals to INP, whatever is passed in. So my new title, tab out, and we can see the title is actually updated right away because we are interpolating the title over here. So instead of in div, let me put that title because it's supposed to be our title, which having some more importance than regular text. I'll just make it an h2 instead of a div so that it appears a little different. So this is one way of updating our title, and this demonstrates one way of utilizing input fields or updating anything on the component. Let's see other ways too. One of the way is, or the easiest way and pretty cool way is utilizing ng model. Ng model is defined in a forms module. Yesterday, that is what I tried to add and try to fix our mistake. But I guess when we add a module to the app module class, app module is our root module, and we are importing some other modules to support our functionality. So our functionality over here is this one. We'll go over this in a bit. For this to happen, or specifically for ng model to work, we need a forms module. And when we add a forms module, the other editors like WebStorm, they automatically recompile. And I think the Visual Studio Code is not capable of recompiling, and that's why it didn't work yesterday right away. Anyway, when we can just stop the compiling and or ngserve and restart ngserve for it to happen. So sometimes if things are not working, maybe we can try out stopping the compilation and then restarting it. The command was ngserve. So let's see how this works. And before even that, let's tidy this up. So this is one method, and I'll put an HR after that just to separate it out. And HR after this, we already have an additional HR over here, so that's fine. Or leave it like that, that's not a big deal. Anyway, let's move on. So right now we are, what this ng model does is, this is Angular construct. It supports two-way binding. I mean, it doesn't support two-way binding. We are asking it to do a two-way binding by enclosing them in these parentheses, square and as well as this round ones. So square is property binding, or in other words, component class to the template, and the other brackets, semicircle brackets, are from the template to the component class. So we are in other words, or simply it means this is two-way binding. The others were one way depending on the direction, but this is two-way. So as soon as we type in, and because this is two-way, this app one, our title is getting displayed in this text box. You see that? And let's make it display in this box too. So the value is title, or we need to bind it. We cannot have standalone the value attribute bound to the title property. For it to be bounded, we need to enclose them in the square brackets. Right now, if you see, it will display just the title, the text, it will interpret that as a text because we are not binding to the property. Now, let's bind to that property. So now we'll see app one. So this is property binding, and over here, because of ng model, which belongs to the forms module, because of ng model, and we are binding to this property two-way. So let's change from here. ng model, and you can see this, the h2, our heading h2 title is getting updated right away, as well as this one, because of this two-way binding. As soon as we type anything in this text box, this will trigger a change to the title property, and because the title property is changing, the value over here is updated right away, this place and this place. All right. So this is pretty cool, but not very usable, or it is rather usable, but in this particular scenario, let's say we are storing the title to the database. So this ng model technique will trigger that many database calls. For each letter, it will trigger a database call because this changes right away. Whereas in this one, the change event happens when we get out of the text box, when the focus is not on the text box anymore. So it will be one call to the database to update the title and persist it over there. So let's have a look at a common design pattern, that is have a text box and also have a button instead of utilizing this change event. So I'll add a button over here, which is input type button. Oh, sorry, type Yeah, let's go with button for now. And then we'll end the tag. Update. So for this, we'll need a click event, and that needed to be bound to a method in our component. So update title is already a method over there. We'll just name it differently via button. This dot title equals to whatever is passed in. So input, I'll expect a string over here, or try to pass a string from our template. Oops. Oh no, I'm very sorry. This should be the incoming parameter rather than the type of it. So that is ready. And how to pass in that value, how to figure that out. So in Angular, what you can do is for any element, you can just have a hash and then type in some name, input title, that will be accessible within the template right away. Let me shorten this and longen this, or lengthen. I think lengthen is the right word. Anyway, now just because of this hash, we can reference that particular element. So input title, imp title dot value should be passed on to that method, and let's see how it works. Just add at the end space 1, and as we can see, all those title, all those controls that are consuming the title property get updated right away. So this is another method, and let's look at the final method that utilizes a form submit event rather than uh, just the button click event handler. Just arrange these two lines. So we are not utilizing this click event anymore. Instead, we'll utilize form submit event. So again, this is event binding from template to the component class. On submit to this. Oops, it's not right. Okay, update title via form submit. So for the form to submit, that button should be of type submit, not a regular button. And that is the default if you don't give anything. We'll look at that error in just a bit. But let me just check over here if everything is good. Update title form is expecting a closing tag, and we have a closing tag. Okay, we need a quotation mark over here. That should fix it. There is a different error now. It says property update title does not exist on type app component. So we haven't defined that method yet. We'll go to the component and define it over here. And similarly, we'll expect the same string to this input, and that's what it's complaining about right now. Once we save, it should go away. So we have one more that looks exactly the same. These two, parts exactly same. Let's separate them out a little bit. Update title via form. So the text is updated so that we know which one is which. So how to pass in? I mean, there is nothing input title defined over here. We want the title from this, okay, this particular input element, not this one. So this should be unique. So let me rename them as form. So similarly, we can just use inp title form dot value. This should work, but this is not the right way to do it. But we'll talk about that in just a bit. Let's see if this works. No, I didn't. Let me go and try to look at that method. Oh, I did not add any code over here. So if nothing is selected and you just say Control C, which is for copy, it will select the line that the cursor is on. So I just selected that in my keyboard and then pasted over here, and I saved it. And let's see, this should work now. Yep, it did. But with form, right now we just have one element or one input field that the user can enter something in. But what if there were more than one, like a user registration form? There will be a first name, last name, username, and all that stuff. So we cannot pass in each value. So normally we just leave it like this. Leave this particular method, the on submits event handler, empty, and we'll utilize other ways to get those values. So I'll just take this off for now. I thought I knew the save all shortcut, but it's really different. Save all, I want to save all files, and the shortcut is Control K and release the Control S. Okay, all are saved. Then how to get those values? Normally, again, these are bound two-way via ng model. So once the new value gets passed over to ng model, all we have to do is just use the title property itself from here. Okay, because this is rather simplistic example. If it was, let's say, user input, okay, anyway, what we do is from here, gather the title property because it's updated right away, and then submit it to the database. So this dot title will already have via ng model the newly entered title. So we will use this title and update database with this title. If there were more properties, this dot first name, this dot last name, things like that. Or we can make an object. We'll see how when we deal with the products or when we go further in the course and read or try to learn more about forms and the various ways how to handle forms. So anyway, we'll leave it over here. Right now we had 4 different methods, or rather we looked at 4 different methods how to update something, how to utilize the properties of the components to update something, and use different ways to update those HTML properties, those component properties via HTML controls, HTML elements. So I just rolled back everything to the stage where all of them were working. Let me go back to the agenda today. Oops, I thought I did everything. Okay, anyway, I did not write anything over there because I wanted to take care of, no, I'm sorry. I thought I did. I took care of everything, but we'll talk about modules today. We did recap and we fixed what went wrong yesterday. Validation, uh, we'll do it after we talk about forms because that would be a better place to discuss. And then communication, passing data or data binding between components, we'll do after we talk about modules. So the next thing we'll talk about is like modules, and then we'll go to communication between components, and then we'll talk about forms after that, and then we'll talk about validation while discussing forms. All right, let's keep moving. So let me maximize this and let's check it in whatever we have up until now. Update title different ways. I believe yesterday I did not push this button. That's why I am seeing two changes, one from yesterday and one from today. Or maybe I pressed it but something happened and it did not carry forward to the GitHub. Anyway, let me do it now. We call both of them, both they should be 0 and 0, 0 incoming and 0 outgoing after this. Okay, we are done with that. It should be in GitHub and hopefully succeeded this time. So to practice generation of components, we created this product last time around. Now I'll just get rid of it. We'll organize a little bit better. So we have an empty folder right now. Empty component folder, and we have a nav bar. Anyway, I had to stop to generate new components. So there are some errors that I don't know. I never heard of them. Most likely because we have those product components referred someplace else and it's throwing an error. Let's clean that up too. So we had a product component over here. Let's remove that. Let's remove that, and we should be in a good state now. And just clear these, clear the console so that it doesn't look ugly. And let's create ng another component. And I want product management folder. Okay, why do I want a separate folder? I just want to have a separate module for the product management, separate module for the product related stuff. Because it's a good idea or Angular recommended practice to have a separate functionality included in a separate module. And this functionality will not be consumed by other components or other modules. So it's kind of a standalone group of related components or services or related things. Let me put it in a general way because we haven't talked about directives, services, and other Angular concepts. So by default, we have app module, and at least one module is a must. And things are changing on Angular end, but up until version 9, at least one module is a must. and that module is referred to as root module. And other modules, they are referred to as feature modules. Root module and feature modules. Feature modules encapsulate or group related functionality or related feature or functionality of that feature. So I mean various ways to put it, but just I'm repeating. I'm trying to put it in different words, just so that it gets ingrained in our brains. So the next time we see root module and feature module, we know exactly what that is. So repetition helps. That's why I'm repeating myself again and again. And inshallah, that helps on your end too. So I want to put my product management or product related stuff under a different folder and a different module. For that purpose, let me create a module first. Ng generate M is for module, and I want that module under components slash product management. And let's use the try-run flag and let's see what it does. So it created a product dash management.module.ts under that product dash management folder, and that is what I was expecting. So let's run it without a try-run flag. And that is done, and we see product management.module.ts. And for it to be usable, we need to import it in our root module. So let's import that in product management module. So I mean, after typing, okay, let me go back and show a little cool feature of Visual Studio, and it's not just Visual Studio. Many IDEs provide that. So as soon as I start typing, it shows me a little pop-up over here, a menu, which is called IntelliSense of Visual Studio, IntelliSense of the IDE. So that IntelliSense is trying to guess what I'm trying to type. So right away it displays product management module, and as soon as I hit that tab, it will not only autofill that product management module, letting me escape the typing, but it also adds the import over here without me having to type all of it. So you can use the IntelliSense, start typing, and whichever element you need from that menu, you can just tap, you can just select it and tap. If it is the first, you don't even have to select it. So let's say debugger, let me select this decode URI component and hit tab, it will get selected. And after that, it doesn't know what to do with that because it's a method. But if it was something like a component or a module, it would suggest, it would do the auto import for us. So anyway, this is taken care of. Product management module is imported in our root module. So how to build this feature module, we'll just have a look. Now I want components under that module. So ng generate component. Let me have a products component and have a try run. Yep. So we can see this is wrong because it's creating the products folder under the app folder, which we don't want it. We want it under components because we want to group all the components under the folder. Again, this is recommended design or design adopted by many that app, but you can adopt your own design. It's up to you, but whoever will collaborate with you or work with you, they should be easily understanding that organization. Then it's all good. Otherwise, that's a red flag. So anyway, let's go back over here and then fix the path component, or is it components slash products, and we want it under product management. So product management, let's see what it does. So it created the right folders at the right place, but it's updating the app module. Basically, that means it's including the component in this declaration folder, but under app module. We don't want it included in the app module. We want it included in our product management module, right? We want our new component to be included in that module, not over here. So how to make the Angular CLI command or generate component command to actually add it to the module rather than to the root module. For that, we can just traverse to the directory. What directory is that? App1. Right now we'll go to the components. Is there only one directory starting with C? No, there are more than one. So we'll have to we are in app1, so we need to go to the source first. cd src cd app cd c star. This should work. We are under components, and then let's look at what's in there. We have a directory called product management, so cd star, we are in there. And now let's run the generate command with the try and flag and see what it does. Now it's adding it to our new module, right? It's updating the new module, which is what we want. So we just go to the directory where our module is and generate a component over there. So let's run it without a try run flag. Something went wrong. It created another components folder over here, which is not we want, not we intended to do. No, this is horribly wrong. Okay. I'll have to clean that up a little bit. We have to delete this entire folder. This needs cleaning up. Okay, let's go back to here and see what went wrong. CD, we'll go back. That was the way to do it. I don't know if something changed, but okay, this is creating. Okay, let me manually take care of the module stuff, but I'll I don't know. I don't want to go past without resolving this, but I want to save time simultaneously. Hmm. Let me make one more attempt. Let me just go forward without it. I'll see what went wrong and I'll figure out how to fix it, and we'll build one more module later on in the most likely in our next session, and go from there inshallah. Anyway, so let it update app module, and then we'll clean that up and we'll put relevant stuff back in product management module. So let's go with without driver flag and let it run its course. So the component got created and app module got updated. I don't want it, so we'll just grab stuff from here. Go to product management module and declare our component over here. Products component, and it auto imported it, so we are fine. This is all it needed, but I want it to be generated. I wanted it to be generated automatically via command rather than manually modifying it. So let's do ng-serve and get it ready. And in our app component, for us to consume just like app nav bar, all we need to do is go look at the selector of the component, products component, and just include it over here. It's called app products, and add it to app component as a tag. So at this point of time, it shouldn't contain anything more than app products works. I don't see it. Okay, it shows us some error. Not a known element. We have a product management module here. We need to declare a component because we are importing that from a different module. So we need to declare a component in the declarations too. Oops, it still didn't work. No. It cannot. I mean, a module cannot belong to more than one product. So a component cannot belong to more than one module. That is your mistake. Actually, I'm not thinking straight. Okay, right. Okay. One more hiccup. Must be something very simple, but I'm unable to figure out right now. But anyway, I mean, we saw how to consume a component via app navbar. That should have been as simple as that with app products too. But we'll just take this out for now, and I'll fix it and come back and cover it in our next session, inshallah. So anyway, we were trying to talk about modules, and this is how we create modules. We group related stuff, and from app component, let's take these product related things out totally because they don't belong over in the app component at all. So let me go to the product. products HTML and paste it over here. And we need to go to the component class and also take care of it. So take out the products array from over here and go to the product component TS class and add that as a property over here. Now, how to get to the products component on its own rather than composing in a different component? What is comparing again and again? I need all those methods carried over to from. Okay, so this was just for demonstration of the property binding. I'll get rid of it, or event binding, not property binding. I'm sorry. Now this compiled successfully. So now we are at a good state. So how to get to the product component? I mean, our situation might demand that it be included in app component or not, right? How to get to this product component? For this to work, there is something called router outlet. This is very simple concept, but very important concept with Angular. So right now we are not changing any URL. All the time we were hitting localhost 4200. So how about we have right now we have a separate module and separate component to display products. So how to get there? So most likely, I mean, the logical way of going over there is having a separate URL that exposes those products. So localhost at 4200/products should be the way to get to the products. So how to configure our app for that URL? Right now, if I just hit enter, it will not display anything. It will fall back to uh, localhost 4200, which is our home page, because this doesn't exist or this route doesn't exist. So in other words, we need to create a route for that. So if you remember, when we generated this app, we skipped routing. For app 3, we included routing. So how to include routing right now is go to the app modules and write the routing module or routing part of it over here. I believe it's router module. I'm conflicted with if it is route module, but anyway, let's see. Just taken. Let's go with route module. For route module for route has a method for route. It configures routes for our app, and it takes an array because there might be multiple routes in our application, so that should be logically an array. And each element of that array will be an object or a JSON object that will have these properties. Path, if the path is products, then use this component. Okay, let me open the app 3 and just refer it over there. It's one of those, either it's a router module or route module. Somehow even the IntelliSense is not helping me, but value. So it's route module, not router module. Yeah. It says even route module does not exist. Anyway. Instead of wrangling over it, let me just go and refer it and call it done. Router module from Angular slash router. Okay, so it's not in over there. It's a router module. Okay, everything is good. That still didn't work. The path is products because we added a module. Most likely, we need to restart the ng serve. Let's try that. Hopefully, that will fix it. So while it is building, so this is how the paths would be. We can add more paths or as many we want. Over here, we are including the route in the app module itself. In app 3, there was a separate file. So it's better to have a separate file. We'll separate that out later, but that's all it is. Router module for route, and there we provide all the paths that this application will consume or will use or will provide to the user as a functionality. So very simple concept. Even if we separate it out, it's still simple. It's just a different file with all those routes. So if we have a separate file, then our routes will look like this. So this is the array. So it accepts, or it is supposed to contain an object for each path. So this will be something like path for the path called products. The component would be here. We don't have a product component, but products component, but it would be declared like that. So because it's we are creating a new module for this purpose, we need this metadata or decorator called ng module, and we need a name for that. So this is all just supporting this particular line 5. So as the application grows, there will be probably, I mean, tens of paths. So this file will go pretty big. Because we have a separate file, that will be not a big problem. But if the if this particular lines grows pretty big in the root module or a feature module itself, that would make it complicated or difficult to read or consume a lot of space for encapsulated functionality. So it's better to have a different file. That is what I was trying to just convey. Let's see if product works after our ng serve. Okay. Let me have it right up front rather than way in the bottom, and see if that works. It's not even throwing an error. I'm pretty sure I'm missing something very, very simple. I'm just unable to get my finger on it. Providers, okay, yep. So anyway, the good practice is to provide a path, an empty path too. It's kind of a default path. So this is taken care of, and I know exactly what is going wrong right now. Yep, like I mentioned earlier, this is very important with respect to Angular. This is kind of backbone of Angular or single page application frameworks. So what is missing over here is something called a router outlet. So what is the functionality of this router outlet is it loads a component and unloads the previous component. So if we were at this, the home page or the default component or default route, it's app one. You see these things are getting repeated. One is the top one is because of everything above router outlet tag or element. And router outlet, what it does is, like I just mentioned, it will load that component. So right now our default path says, let me collapse that. Not this one. I wanted the route one. So right now our path says, the default path says when it is default path, meaning when there is nothing in there in the route apart from our origin, load app component. And this is exactly what it is doing. It's loading the app component in here. That's why we see all our UI is repeated twice. So basically app component is not supposed to have any other functionality other than what is needed, like nav bar. This always is supposed to be there. We'll build the navigation UI later on, but this is supposed to not be even consumed over here. So I'll remove everything and just have router outlet over here, and we'll design other stuff later. So, and also instead of cleaning this up, let's do something else. Let's create a home component, and then when something is requested, when a default path is requested, let's go to the home component rather than app component. It's 9 o'clock. I'm just trying to gauge what needs to be done, and if we have enough time to do to complete our agenda for today. So let me just think over for a minute and see what to tackle next. Okay, let's go ahead and clean this up by creating a home component first. G component home, or sometimes called dashboard component. That's fine. Let's go with home /d and see what it does. No, we are keeping all our components under a folder called components. So that looks good without dry run. We have it. Let's start ngserve meanwhile. So let's do a home component rather than app component over here. So app component, and we'll move everything from here. Not everything. Or we'll just leave it here. That should be just fine. Once it builds, we should be able to see our changes. So again, just to reiterate, who is responsible for unloading and loading of the components? It's router outlet. So now home works. The home component is working just fine, and this is all because app component is supposed to have a it's kind of a master page, have the header, footer, and the common stuff that should be there on all the pages. So right now this is our common stuff. So I'll just comment it out, and we'll work with the title and all the stuff anyway. That's kind of what you say to demonstrate some concepts, but let's get rid of them. And right now we have a nav bar on top, and then the component that got loaded right now is home component. And let's go with the products components. Hopefully it will not embarrass me this time and it will just work. So now, yeah, it worked, and we have our product works and as well as our products table. Wow. Okay. I'm kind of a little bit happy because yesterday some things didn't work, and today I think I need to get back on something on how to generate a component within a feature module, not on an app module, and then go back and manually clean up. So I'm feeling a little bit happy. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, let's keep moving. And what we did, just to recap, we created a module, we created a component under that module, and we cleaned up, we created routes, and we'll have a separate route module later on. But right now this will work because we just have a couple of paths. Okay, let's go back to the agenda. So we looked at app module, and we looked at feature module. We created one of them, we defined them, and we'll look at lazy loading module next. So right now at this point of time, we have two modules. One is our root module and one is our product management feature module. What if there were 10 more modules, 10 more feature modules? Let's head back to our browser and look over a few things. We already have this open. So I'll just expand this actually all the way. So these developer tools are there on all the browsers. And if you go to the sources tab over here, it will display the source of our HTML and our application altogether. So Angular utilizes something called Webpack, and Webpack is responsible for that ngserve and ng build things. So what it means is when we do ng-serve, the webpack kicks in. It transpiles that TypeScript into JavaScript. So eventually, our TypeScript, our HTMLs or the code in the HTML, they get transpiled to JavaScript, and that is what is used by the Angular compiler to take care of all those things, to take care of Angular stuff, to take care of rendering, to take care of the events, to take care of the binding and all this stuff. So if you want to look at our source and debug it, one of the ways is to go under Webpack node, go to the dot node, and under there will be source, and then our app structure will be right over here. So this is our home component, product component, product management, and I think I don't know what that is. Yep, this is module, I guess, and this is. But for debugging purposes, this is not JavaScript. JavaScript will be in one of the other nodes. I don't know where exactly, but so the one cool thing is we don't have to worry about it. Oh, it's in main.js over here. So all our whatever code we have written will be under main.js, and these are supporting files from Angular. Polyfills is there to support all kinds of browsers. The runtime is Angular compiler and Angular related stuff, the Angular dependencies, styles, vendors. I mean, let's not go over these, but at some point of time we will in a little bit more detail. Right now, let's focus on something called lazy loading. I mean, this is not to myself because I thought I was straying from our agenda. So if there were a 10 different feature modules, they will be all loaded right away. Sorry, I'm at the products route right now, but even if I go to the our default route, we can see that our feature modules are getting loaded too. How to not load them? How to load them? How to not load them upfront, and how to load them when they are demanded, when they are needed. So if we go to the paths and we configure our paths in a little bit different way. So instead of this line, we'll have a similar line, yet different. So instead of component, we say load children. So for this path, load the children from the path that I'm currently writing. So it's components, and what is the path to get there? Actually, maybe I can right click, copy relative path, paste it over here. This is too relative. So we are going relative to app module. App module is under app. So start in this folder, which is app folder already, and go to components, and then this folder and this folder, our project module. We need not give the extension of that file. So we just refer to the module and we say hash and the name of the actual class of the module. Path hash the module class. I could have copied it from here itself. Oh no. Now it's getting loaded right away because of this declaration imports. We are importing that. Because we are importing that, that gets loaded along with the root module. So we don't need that. We have to take it out. Now, because we are not using those modules directly, we can comment these two lines. The same thing could be defined in a little bit different way, or this is a kind of a newer way. Load children, and we import the path. Oops, the same path, and not the module name, just the path over here in this style of declaring it. Oops. And we add a then. Oops. I'll just collapse this so that we have a lot of more space to make it easy for us to follow. I guess that needs to be slashes rather than backslash. I don't know, I'm just guessing because it's unable to get to the path. Okay, so far it looks good. Just keep complaining about something. Okay, let me fix that offline and then get back. Hopefully this will just work. No, 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 hold on. Okay, so this is how to set a lazy load, how to set up for a module to be lazy loaded rather than eagerly loaded or loaded upfront. Let's go back over here and refresh the default route and inspect the source that is generated. So there is no product management module over here at all. There is nothing product management related stuff. That means it's not loaded up front. Let's see, let's make sure that that particular module is loaded when we actually need it. Oops, it went back to the default route. Somehow that part didn't work. I don't know, I should have been. Oops, again, this needs to be forward slashes, not backward slashes. So I'll just copy and paste from here to over there. Oops. So I tried to use that copy relative path and it didn't give me the right result when I right click on that app module and it's having backslashes rather than forward slashes and that consumes some of our time. So let me go back and refresh. Oh, I think it was already refreshing. Anyway, one more refresh shouldn't matter. Okay, I go to sources and open up the webpack and see Okay, right now it's default path, so nothing gets loaded. That's good. Products. Okay, somehow there is an error. I'm not even looking at the error. Okay, what is the error? Uncut promise. Cannot find module. Components, product management. Cannot find the module. Products. Components, product management. Management dot module. That is the name of the file and a project management module. Let me do something called uh, disabling the latest IV. Yes, config. So I mean, Ivy is a nickname for Angular 9. From Angular 9, they have changed functionality. Some of them are breaking changes. So I'm guessing that's what it is because this is how we are supposed to lazy load before Angular 9. So I'm just disabling the Angular 9 stuff. I'm asking the Angular compiler to compile using something before Angular 9. So I'm still getting it. Do I need a restart? Probably I do. So in any case, I'll note down two things that didn't work out today. Lazy living modules was one. I'll just add it as a follow up. And then the other thing was, I don't remember right now. Let me try to recall. I'll recall. Whenever I remember, I'll just make a note and then we'll follow up tomorrow. Let's see if it is done. Okay, it still says some error. Cannot resolve something. I have seen it, I have fixed it, but I don't remember right now how to fix it exactly. I have seen it in my existing application, so let me just change here. Let me refer to my application, one of my applications, and see how it is done over here. I'm pretty sure that's all it is. Again, I'm missing something very simple. Module. A separate routing module. Okay. This should be an arrow function rather than just a literal string. Okay. Hopefully that works. Okay. Home page was just fine. We'll verify one more time, but let's see if the products get loaded. Yeah, somehow there is no error now, but it's still on home component. Okay, okay. Another thing that I'm missing over here is uh, we are from app module we are configuring it the route to go to something called load children from this particular module, and when basically we are telling it, okay, go to this module. I don't know how to route this particular route. Just go to this module and figure out a route. So basically, the feature module should also contain a configuration for its own routes. So app module is just passing on the responsibility to the feature module to take care of its own routes. So this is what I was missing. Now I gathered myself. Okay, router module. But for root modules, it should be for root, and for feature modules, that should be for child. And probably, as you can guess, it accepts an array. That array consists of route objects, and route objects follow a path, and on that path, what to do. So component is products component. So we are what we just configured is for this particular route module, for this particular feature module, the default path is products component. So if nothing is entered after products, then that is products component. And we can be explicit instead of generic and configure another route for slash products. Just go to this products component. So default path, products component, and products route, products component. So now that should work. In a way, it's already working. It's live reloaded, and we can see the product. We get to the route products, and we can see uh, in this webpack node, there should be product management loaded. Default route, it will not be, once it is loaded, it will not go back until we recompile and it gets refreshed. That's a different matter. But okay, to lazy load, let's actually write those steps so that even I don't forget it. So this is done. Configure root module to pass on the bug to the feature module. Configure feature module for its own paths. Okay. So if you don't lazy load, it will load. It will get loaded upfront. Then that will consume. That will affect performance because it's loading something extra. Right now our module is pretty simple, but the feature modules might be uh, big in size depending on its functionality. So that's good. I'm a little bit happy that I was able to figure out in the class itself rather than going back and recapping and wasting next session's time. So anyway, this is very important interview concept. What is lazy loading? Lazy loading is not loading a module upfront. And how to configure? By default, the Angular default is to provide eager loading. And we can configure a particular module or modules to be lazy loaded. And what we need to do is configure in the root module just to pass on those paths to the relevant feature module. And the feature module will take care of all the routes, all its own routes. So let's say, for example, if we have a product component, not products, the singular product component that would display a single product rather than a list of products. So this would be something like this. But when it is product, right now we don't have a component or just product, but we'll create one next session and discuss about passing data between components. So it will be something like this. So let's say we might have another product component that adds or that lets user add a product. Then we can have something like this, a path for add product and a component that takes care of add product. And similarly, instead of just viewing a product, we can have edit product. But edit product relates to a particular existing product. So it should be accepting something called ID so that the component can actually load that product and allow the user to edit it. So this will be something like this, edit product. So as you can see, I mean, the feature module actually might be very big depending on the type of work it is doing, and it will be beneficial to lazy load that module or maybe all the modules. So I have seen in my experience companies going for lazy loading all the feature modules and even splitting out the products component into its own module, add product component into its own module, edit product component into its own module, and lazy loading all of them. So basically one module, one component, and lazy load them. So anyway, we'll discuss adding more components. And I guess, I mean, the concept is clear to you. It's very simple concept, but it's very important from the interview point of view. What is eager loading and what is lazy loading? I mean, nobody will probably ask about eager loading, but because that is a default, we just have to be able to explain the concept of lazy loading. So lazy loading is pretty simple. We just have to configure it in a particular way in a couple of places. So try to get this cleared in your mind. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask and practice as much as you can. And hopefully we'll meet in our next session next Saturday. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And before I leave, I'll just update all of this in Git. And feel free to browse the source code for reference while you practice.